What's up, and welcome to another edition of the Morning Lifter podcast, hosted by two smart men who love dumbbells. We cover all things strength and leadership. This is episode 7. Shawn, what is up?
What's going on, Bryce?
Not much, man. How are you?
I'm well. How about yourself?
Living the dream. Just dry scoop some pre-workout and get ready to rock and roll after we get done recording with another run. Ate 20 raw eggs for breakfast, so ready to roll.
That's vintage right there. The raw eggs.
Trying to get on my Rocky Balboa game.
Maybe when you're done with these 1,000 miles, they'll build a statue of you.
Yeah, can only hope. How's your holiday, man? It's been a couple weeks since we recorded.
Yeah, it's been busy. With 2 kids, it's wild. So especially at this age, but it's all in good fun though. And
yeah, did Santa forget about you, or did he bring you some goodies too?
Santa definitely did not forget about me. I was able to pick up a few nice pieces here and there, so it was a good Christmas for all parties.
Yeah, what's your favorite new piece of equipment that you were able to add to your home gym?
Oh, boy, that's a good question.
Thank you.
I don't know yet. I got the Swiss bar. The Swiss bar has some pretty cool advantages to it. I picked up a rackable easy curl bar, which has been clutch. Ooh. I love that thing. I would recommend that to anybody, especially if you're in a home gym. There's always the negative stereotype of don't curl in a squat rack. Well, when you own your own home gym, you can do whatever the hell you want, so it doesn't matter. But for me, it's always been about efficiency. And the regular, I think it's a 4-foot, the regular easy curl bar, I've always had to spend more time getting it set up. You got to do it in a separate location, all of this. And with the rackable easy curl bar, I'm so much more efficient. And for me, if there's something that can provide a time savings, there's a good chance I'm going to buy it. And that's been a huge pickup. So I was able to sell my other bar on Facebook Marketplace, so I picked up some cash there. So that's been good. The other one I got was from Titan Fitness. It's called the Linebacker Landmine Attachment, which I'm still trying to figure out how to use. There's a couple design flaws that I'm kind of trying to work around. You can add weight to they got sleeves where you can add weight to the outside, but if you don't load it evenly, the bar's going to spin. And so I think that's a design flaw that I'm trying to work around, because you're going to have to keep that thing level if you want weight on the outside. But they have room to put weight on the actual barbell itself on the inside. So I'm going to mess around with that first and see how that works. What else did I get? I got a couple other things. My mind's going blank on me.
Nah, that's all right. The Easy Bar sounds like a great pickup. I'm a huge fan of those. They're so versatile. You got curls, you can do skull crushers. My favorite thing to do with them actually is like ab rollouts. So I don't have an ab roller, but whenever you're in the gym, you have Easy Bar. If you slap the plates on, that can move freely.
Right.
Really try to target the core.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite core movements.
There was one other thing. I will say, so 2 other things. The other thing that I did get was I picked up a pair of chains. I finally got to start working with chains, and I absolutely love it. I'm to the point where it's like obsession. I try to find a way to fit in chains in every single one of my workouts right now. So that's been a lot of fun, and I really like how it's just been an aid in training. And so I'm going to try to find a way to keep those in my workouts until I get bored with it. The other thing was, it wasn't anything that I had picked up. It was what I had modified. I had made a couple posts on my Instagram about it. The seat on my lat tower has always been too high, mainly because I'm pretty tall. So
okay. Yeah, I saw you playing around with that the other day.
Yeah, so the reach has been an issue for me. My range of motion, I could never get a full stretch at the top. So I took the seat off and made just a jerry-rigged version of it until we came back from break. I have a buddy that I work with who does welding work, and he was able to take the seat and he cut the top off and cut it from 7 inches from the bottom. And so I pretty much cut the seat in half. And he welded it back together, and I slapped the seat on there, put it on, and rocking and rolling. And I've got so much more range of motion now. And I think that would be one, I guess, recommendation that I would tell Titan is, or anybody who manufactures a lat tower, make sure you have an adjustable seat, not just the thigh adjustments, but a seat adjustment. When you have a seat adjustment, it gives taller people or people who just have longer arms more of an opportunity for a range of motion. But I did that quick little hack, and that's been perfect for me. So that was also a huge pickup.
Yeah, and that, folks, is something you just can't do at a commercial gym.
No, you can't.
Now, I know what you mean, though, about the seat height, because, I'm not 6'5" or 6'6", whatever you are. I'm, 5'10", but I have long arms for my body height, so I run into that range of motion issue a little bit, too, depending on, the type of setup that I'm working with at whatever gym I'm at. So.
Yeah, and unless you have a brute commercial grade lat tower or lat pull down, something like from a Rogue or a Hammer Strength, you're probably not going to get that range of motion, or you might struggle with it depending on your reach.
Right, absolutely. Well, I don't have a home gym to get equipment for Christmas, but Santa didn't forget about me either. I got a couple awesome shirts from Morning Lifter. The one with the American flag in the rack on the back. I'm blanking on the names of the designs. And then the other one I got was the Dark Horse, probably my favorite design, in black with gray lettering. That shirt's so sick, so really excited about that. Thank you, Santa. Both those came from morninglifter.com/store. Humble plug.
A couple new shirts, too, that just popped up, too. There was an Iron Grit, and there's just a standard USA shirt that just came out, too.
Oh, yeah, USA shirt, major key. Olympic year coming up. People forget about that this summer, 2020. So show some pride. Go USA. With that, though, let's hop into today's episode. It is the middle of January, so obviously there's a bunch of New Year's resolutioners that are looking to get back in the gym, get healthy, maybe start their fitness journey, maybe pick up where they left off a couple years ago. So we're going to talk about goal setting, New Year's resolutions, everything in between. How's that sound?
Sounds great.
Cool. So first question I have for you, Shawn, is what do you think the difference is between a goal versus a resolution? Do you think there is a difference? Do you think the two kind of are synonymous? I just want to hear what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, I think there's a difference between a goal and a resolution. I feel like a resolution is something that you want to do. You're attempting to change. A goal could be never attainable. It's ever chasing. One of the greatest quotes that I like is from, of all people, Matthew Mcconaughey. All right. And he was giving a speech, and he said, when I was 15 years old, somebody asked me, who's your hero? And he said, well, my hero is me at 25. So when he was 25, the guy came back and he said, are you your hero? And he said, no, not even close. My hero's at me at 35. And the idea was that his hero is always 10 years away. So it's something that he always is striving to achieve, to become, but will never get there, which gives him something to continually strive for, which I thought was a really good way to put it. I also talk about it in a post that I had made right before the new year. It was called you don't have to wait for you don't need a new year to be a new you. And I don't believe in resolutions personally. I think resolutions are fake because everybody comes up with them, but studies show about 80% after about 6 weeks give up on it.
I read that too. It's about Valentine's Day, right? It's like
right.
Valentine's Day, everyone's...
Right, and so you see the same thing in every commercial gym where you get a lot of influx of people, but of that influx, you might see 15 to 20%, which goes right in line with that 80% fail. You might see 15 to 20% of those people stay. And so I don't believe in resolutions. Instead of making resolutions, I would suggest making goals. Where you don't need to say, oh well, I've got one more week to act like a jackass, and then on July 1 I'm gonna change. No, like that, it doesn't work. That you're just gonna continue to do the same thing over and over again. And the thing that I talked about in the article was until you have a breaking point, your resolutions mean nothing. there's got to be some type of bottoming out, in my opinion, for you to finally decide, okay, I'm done with this. Because if you say, well, I'm going to start losing weight on January 1st, that means you're not committed. Like, that just gives you an out. 6 weeks later, oh, well, it just didn't work out. If you say, well, I want to start losing weight, then why haven't you started the next day?
I love that, actually. That sounds awesome.
Start the next day. Don't give yourself an out and say, well, I want to get stronger in the gym, but I'm going to sit on the couch and watch all these New Year's bowls, and January 2nd, I'm going to start. Why? Why not start tomorrow? And that's why I don't believe in resolutions, because it's false. It's fake. I think it's just a way for people to make goals that they're false goals. It gives people a way to say, well, it just didn't work out. Just didn't work out. Because the resolutions, that what's been written down, what's been committed to, what have you done to find a way to push yourself past that 6-week barrier, and if you don't have that breaking point, then you're not committed to it. You're not sick and tired of being sick and tired. When I started losing my weight, when I was done playing football, I started, I started that Monday or Sunday, and I made a plan. I took, I think, Friday and Saturday, and I developed my plan, and I said, okay, I'm going to go to the gym these days per week, and I'm going to do this. So I set up my plan. It took me about 2 days, and I said, okay, here's the day I'm going to start. And it was in the middle of May. I didn't say, well, I'm going to wait for 7 more months, and then come January 1, I'm going to start. Like, I would have been 500 pounds.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I had reached a breaking point. I was to the point where I've said to myself, I'm done looking and feeling like this. It's time to make a change. And then I started and committed the process. And I didn't have anyone else saying, hey, great job, great job, great job. It was myself. I tracked my own progress, and I was able to hold myself accountable. So that's why I don't think the resolutions work. But when we've talked enough about goal setting, and I've written a lot of articles about why goals are important in a vision, you got to be able to see yourself. Where do you want to be in 6 months, 12 months, 18 months? Then work backwards, figure out what you need to do to achieve that. So that's why I think goals are so much more important than just a resolution. Because a resolution, there's enough stigma around resolutions that the majority won't follow through on it. Mm-hmm. The ones who say, well, I've got this resolution, what they're really saying is, the ones who have the resolution and accomplish it, you've set a goal. That's what you've done.
Yeah. It's sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, instead of saying, well, I've just got this resolution, you've really just set a goal.
Right. No, a well thought out goal can be a resolution, in my opinion. I agree with 100% with what you said. Resolutions are bullshit. They don't really last, but you can disguise a goal as a resolution, maybe trick yourself. But at the end of the day, you just set a goal. One of my big discerning points between the two would be a resolution is something you want to resolve, is something you want to change. If you want to stop drinking soda in a year, that's a resolution. If you want to lose 100 pounds, that's a goal, right? So there might be a little bit of overlap there, but I think that is also a key selling point there. A resolution would be, oh, I'm going to start taking the stairs. That's not a goal, right? There's no plan involved with that. There's no time frame. That's just a change that you're making. You want to deadlift 500 pounds. That's a goal. It takes a well thought out plan, takes consistency, discipline, training, all the above. That's a goal. So I think that's a big discerning point between the two, which leads us into the next question. What makes a good goal? Without looking ahead on the outline, of course. What do you think a good goal should encompass?
I think that's an individualized answer, but I'll try to generalize it as much as I can. I think, the goal for each individual has to be something that, it's like I said earlier, where do you see yourself in 6 months? Where do you see yourself in 12 months? Where do you see yourself in 18 months? Then you've got to work backwards and then formulate a plan. And it's not just in fitness, it's in life in general too. Do you have a test that you're supposed to take in a year? Okay, work backwards. How are you going to study for that? Are you going to take practice tests? What do you need to do to make yourself accountable to ensure that something's going to be done? And maybe you have a friend or your spouse or somebody to help you own up to that, somebody that can give you honest feedback and say, hey, you're not getting this done. Let's go. Keep moving. Those types of things I think can be really, really good. I also think you got to write stuff down. I'm a big believer in writing stuff down. If you don't write it down, you never look at it.
Yeah, that's a huge point.
If you don't write it down, you never look at it, and you'll forget about it. Out of sight, out of mind. And part of that accountability piece is when you look at it every day, right? And then you can become the major change agent. That gives you the opportunity to say, okay, here's what I need to do today. Have I accomplished what I need to do today to get me one step closer to where I want to be in 6 months, 12 months, 18 months? That's kind of the way I see it. And it works in anything, whether it's fitness, whether it's in your own life. Do you have a vision board? Some of the most famous people have vision boards where they write out on a marker board, their plans and their goals and their aspirations. It's not a crazy thing. It's not a crazy thing. The crazy thing is, in my opinion, to not do it. But a lot of people will either mock it or not do it because they either don't understand it or they think it takes a lot of time or effort to do. It takes 5 minutes to do. But then the key is that you've got to be able to hold yourself accountable. And it's something that, again, that we've talked about in the past. Motivation can get you started, but it's determination that keeps you going.
Yeah, that's another big point.
Yeah, I think some people have it and some people don't. Anybody can get motivated, right? Anybody can get motivated, but if you're an idiot and you get motivated, now you got a motivated idiot. Right? I steal that from Jim Rohn, but there's a big point behind that, right? If you're an idiot and you get motivated, you're a motivated idiot.
No, it's true. Like, you can get motivation from watching a YouTube video or listening to a song, right? That's not gonna carry you for a year or 18 months or whatever.
Right. And so you got to be able to hit that. Again, I think that determination comes from that breaking point. When you've hit the breaking point, wherever it is in your life, that is what's going to propel you past. If you're an idiot and you say, I don't want to be an idiot anymore, well, what do you need to do? Maybe you need to start reading. Maybe you need to stop watching reality TV. I don't know. Turn off the TV. Start reading books. Start educating your mind. You got to stand guard at the doorway to your mind. What are you allowing into your brain? Are you so worried about politics and, the state of the country that you can't manage your own affairs at home? If you can't take care of your own bedroom but want to take care of everything else outside of you, you're a walking disaster. You're a walking mess. Take care of your house first. Take care of your bedroom first, and then worry about other stuff. It's not the other way around. If you can't take care of your own self, how are you going to be able to take care of anything else?
Yeah, that's a really good point.
I think that's the way I kind of look at it, and I would suggest to anyone else, you've got to figure out, your own determination first. And I have an article that I posted too about self-determination and the science behind motivation on that too. But you've got to hit that. I think again, you've got to hit that breaking point, and that's going to be your reminder then of saying, I don't want to go back to that point. For anybody who knows about David Goggins, the Navy SEAL, he was 300 pounds. That was his breaking point, and he was like, I don't want to be like this anymore.
Goggins is a stud. I love the idea of your breaking point. Another really great example of that is J.K. Rowling, the author of the Harry Potter series. It's played out time and time again on social media. She was living on welfare checks before she signed her contract for the initial Harry Potter book. I think it was the initial contract was only 1 or 2 books, but she was quoted in saying that rock bottom was a really solid foundation to which I rebuilt my life. And that's kind of exactly what this whole breaking point thing is. Like, when you hit that point where you're just genuinely pissed off at yourself that it's time to make a change, it's crazy what can happen.
And that was the same thing for Sylvester Stallone. He had sold his dog. He had to sell his dog before he finally got Rocky somebody to buy into the script and allow him to star in it.
Yeah, that's what somebody wanted to buy the script for like $100,000 and he said no because they wouldn't let him act in it. He was like, no, right. I need to be the star of this movie.
And that was his breaking point, and then he was able to finally, I think he ended up buying the dog back for like $15,000, and he had to give the previous owner a spot in the movie just to get his dog back, and his dog was in the movie too. But that was his breaking point. And, when you see a lot of those people, then they realize, I don't want to go back to this, and that's their determining factor. The breaking point gives them the motivation to develop that or transition that into determination.
Mm-hmm. So the Associated Press and Forbes, Insider, and all these other big successful companies identify SMART goals, and SMART is an acronym that I just want to run through quick, and they pretty much all agree that this is what makes a good goal. So SMART: S is specific, M is measurable, A is attainable, R is relevant, and T is time-oriented or time-based. So if you can, fill in those blanks for your goal, those 5 kind of criteria, then you've got a pretty solid goal in your hands. So saying, I don't know, I want to lose 100 pounds. Okay, well that's specific, that's measurable. Is it attainable? Maybe. Relevant? Maybe. Time-oriented or time-based? Not really. So it's not that good of a goal. If you want to say, I'm going to lose 5 pounds each month for the next year, you add that time base on it of a year, there you go, you have a SMART goal.
That's a good point. May not be as attainable, especially 5 pounds.
That's true. 5 pounds a month is a lot, but I'm saying if you're morbidly obese, that weight's going to fall off.
Quickly. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
So with that, what do you think the biggest mistake is when goal making or goal setting for the average Joe, the common man here?
Now that's another good question.
Thank you. I'm really on the ball with these good questions today.
You are. Yeah, that's your contribution for the day. I think, where some people struggle, and I struggle with it too, is even if you're looking at these SMART goals, the time that you had something down, it might take longer than you think. If you say, well, I'm going to lose, like you said, 5 pounds over the next year, 5 pounds a month over the next year. And when you calculate that out, that's 60 pounds, I think, right?
Yep.
Well, what if you've only lost 50? What if you've only lost 30? That's a way for someone to look at their goal and say, well, I didn't accomplish my goal. And then they get depressed about that, or they don't, they get down on themselves about it. The thing about goals is, goals can be ever adjusting, and Jim Rohn talks about this too. I always go back to Jim Rohn. He's for me, he's been a huge influence. Goals can be ever changing, and he mentions this with respect to humans versus animals, right? Where does the goose fly every winter? South.
I'm guessing. Yeah, south.
Right?
Is that the answer?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Very, very good, right? Now, why do they fly south? Well, they fly south because of the genetic code and their basic instincts, right? You can't convince a goose to fly west. You can't convince a goose to stay here. You can't convince a goose to go anywhere but south, right? Because of their basic instincts and their genetic code. You can't tell a bear, why don't you stay awake this winter, right? Why don't you hang out this winter and see how it goes? No, they're going to fall asleep. They're going to hibernate for the wintertime because of instinct and the genetic code. Humans are not the same. We've got the ability to change. So if we want to decide to move west, we pack up and move west. If we decide we want to move south, we pack up and move south. We pack up and move north. We pack up and move east. It doesn't matter. We have the ability to change what he calls to change our direction. The set of the sail, for our own wind, he used the analogy, the same wind, especially in America, is blowing on all of us. You've got the ability to change your sail when you think it's time to change it. The same thing goes for goal setting.
I like that a lot.
So if you see that something isn't going to work, change it. So if you're saying, well, my markers aren't hitting, I'm only doing 3 pounds a month instead of 5. Okay, push your goal back a little bit more. Say, okay, well, it's not going to happen here in 12 months, maybe in 15. Maybe in 16 months. So we'll reconvene at 16 months. If I'm not there, then I'm going to change it again. Or if you're saying, wow, I'm hitting 7 pounds a month, whatever, right? Just as an example. Then you can say, wow, I'm going to hit my goal in a lot faster time than 12 months. I'm going to up it to 8. We have the ability to change things. We're not robots. We're not just stuck in soil. We have the ability to move and change the direction to how we see fit, to give ourselves our own advantage. And just like any house or any hotel or any business building that was built, there was a vision that was seen prior to that structure being erected, right? And so, again, it goes back to the same thing. We as humans have the ability to change, to move around when we see fit. And so we can move and change our goals based on that. We just have to continue to assess. So of that SMART goal, if you're saying something needs to be done here in 6 months' time, and you're moving, you might have to change it after 3 months, after 4 months. Or if it's going slower than you thought, you either change it, or you can also say, okay, well, let's look at the data. What am I doing wrong? So those are some things that you can do. But we have, as humans, we have the ability to make our own change. We can't just say, well, I gotta fly south now. It's wintertime, right? It's wintertime. It's international bulk season, so I don't have to worry about maintaining my weight, right? I mean, that to me, that's an excuse.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
You've got the opportunity to change when you think you need to change, and as his famous quote says, things will change for you when you decide to change.
Yep. Universal law of inertia, right? Objects in motion will stay in motion till an opposing force acts upon it. You're not going to change until an opposing force acts upon you that drives you to change.
That's right.
Actually, there are people who do fly south for the winter. They're called snowbirds on the East Coast. My grandparents were one of them.
And they're retired.
Yep, and they're retired. My grandparents did that until they retired to Florida full time. But no, I like that. The time base, just going to throw it out there for anybody. If your goal is to lose a substantial amount of weight or to, body recomposition, whatever you want to call it, it will take way longer than you think it's going to take. And that is an almost guaranteed promise. It's going to take you at least a year. So don't get discouraged in the first couple months. Use the little victories in order to build upon the bigger victories that are coming. And like you said, kind of picture the end goal. I think the biggest mistake that people make is the attainability aspect. So, if you're 100 pounds overweight and your goal is to have a 6-pack in 6 months, that's just not going to happen. I think setting attainable or, feasible goals or reachable goals, and knowing what you're capable of and what your body is capable of, and then, again, going back to the time frame thing, is where a lot of people miss the mark. And you can almost change the R of the SMART acronym from relevant to, realistic almost, and just kind of going from there. We already talked about how much weight you put into the physical writing out of the goals. There are scientific, psychological studies that prove the more you talk about something, the more likely you are that you are to do it. Do you think, we already talked about, writing goals down, making it visible, how important is that, do you think, on a scale of 1 to 10?
Well, I think it's of that 8 to 10 marker. If it goes back to what we had mentioned earlier. If you're not writing it down, you're not looking at it every day. So, and if you're not looking at it every day, then it goes outside of your mind. And when it goes outside of your mind, you forget about it. And it's a lot of it too is just an accountability piece. If you're broke and 40 years old, then maybe you ought to write it down on a piece of paper and put it on your fridge and say, I'm 40 and I'm broke. And look at that every day. Or if you want to add some extra punch to it, I live in America and I'm 40 and broke, right? I mean, we live in the greatest country the world's ever known, So there's a reason why so many people want to come here. The opportunities are abound. I don't think there's any limit on opportunity.
Ain't that the truth?
We have the ability to not only seize opportunities but make opportunities. You can go out and make opportunities. So even if you're saying, well, there's no jobs out there, go volunteer. You never know what'll happen. What happens if someone ends up quitting that job and then you get it?
That's true.
A lot of it comes down to determination. There's that word again.
Yeah, I'm sensing a theme here.
Right. How much does it mean to you? Right? How much does it mean to you? If you want something bad enough, then if you've hit that breaking point, you will do whatever it takes to go out and get it. And if that's losing weight or finding a job or whatever the case may be, then you're going to do everything you can to make sure you achieve it. And I think that, those are some of the more important factors. We've got to be able to differentiate between what works and what doesn't. Writing everything down and then putting it into practice. And so if you do tell people that you're doing this or doing that, well then by God you better do it.
Bingo, 100%. That aids in the accountability thing too.
One of the greatest quotes I ever heard was from my high school football coach. He said, people hear better with their eyes than they do their ears.
Seeing is believing.
So, if you're going to say something, well, then you better do it, because then it eventually becomes white noise, and then you're just crying wolf all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's, writing it down is the first step, but then if you're going to say something, your words hold weight.
Yeah, to go along with the whole writing it down thing, so we'll get into what my actual goal is for 2020 here at the end of the show, but I have a whiteboard magnetic calendar on my fridge that I track daily mileage. I have a 2020 agenda book that I write it down with notes in every day that I run, and then I have started an Instagram TV series with weekly recaps of how I'm doing. So I am seeing it literally every day, multiple times a day, and it's a constant reminder of what I need to do in order to reach that goal. Dreams become thoughts, thoughts become words, and words become actions. So that's just one way to think of it. Short-term versus long-term goals. What do you think is more important? Is it better to have both, one or the other? Drop some knowledge on me.
I think it's good to have both. You should have, not only should you have short and long, but you should have short range, middle range, and long range goals. And the short range are the ones that you need to focus on first, because the short range goals will bring you to the mid range goals, and the mid range goals will bring you to the long range goals. So when you do that, I think the biggest thing is you've got to have perspective in mind, right? The best way to eat an elephant is one bite at a time.
That's a new one. Haven't heard that before.
You can't swallow the whole thing.
Oh, okay.
Right? You'll get a tummy ache, right? And again, it's.
Is that what you tell Wyatt?
Yes, I do. You can't. That's looking at the big picture and saying, I'm never going to get this done. This is too big of a task, right? Look at your 1,000 miles, for example, right? You tell anyone, I'm going to run 1,000 miles over this year, and they're going to say, that's a long distance, right? How are you going to do that? Well, I'm going to do it 1 mile at a time.
Yeah.
Right? And then when you break it down 1 mile at a time, in 6 months' time, you'll be at 500 miles, and you're halfway there, and you won't even have thought about it. And so when you put more focus into the short-term goals, you don't think about the long-range goals, because they get accomplished because you're doing the little things. Little things, the little things affect the big things. But also, I'm going to put more Jim Rohn knowledge on us. You got to make sure that you're not majoring in minor things. So don't major in minor things. So that means don't focus on the minuscule tasks, right? So you got to take care of, so within your short range goals, you got to focus on the impact stuff. So what's going to actually push you forward, right? Not the small stuff. So what's majoring in minor things? Thanksgiving, and eating more than you probably should. Right. You're putting all your focus on that one meal or that one day. That one day is not going to throw you off. Right. So you gotta make sure you're not majoring in minor things. You gotta major in major things. So you gotta say, hey, over this next month, I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna keep losing weight. Right? And so from month to month, as long as you continue that trend, you're doing well. And you're not putting all of your focus on Christmas dinner or New Year's dinner or whatever the case may be. Maybe you go out and have, some food that isn't the best for you. That's okay. But don't major in minor things.
I like that a lot. It's, like you said, it's really easy to set a long-term goal and think, oh my God, there's no way I'm ever going to accomplish that. But then when you break it down into mid-range goals and short-term goals, it becomes way more feasible. And like you said, you use my example. So I tell people like, oh, I'm running 1,000 miles this year. And they go, holy shit, there's no way I could ever do that. And then when I say, well, it comes out to about 19.2 miles a week. My goal is to hit 20 miles a week. And then, over time, the 1,000 miles will be a result of running 20 miles each week. And the general response is, oh, I could do that. And then my answer is, well, why don't you, right? Another key key component of that is the discipline, determination to go out and do something for 52 weeks straight. I mean, I've been an athlete my whole life. My season's not all year long. Even weight training, powerlifting, and stuff like that, you have off seasons and everything like that. So the 1,000 miles is going to be a result of the discipline and the hard work put in and week out over the course of a long period of time that will then ultimately lead me to the goal of 1,000 miles by almost as a byproduct, So I'm not chasing that from the start as January 12th. There's no way that's going to happen in the next 6 months even. But if I build habits, create this lifestyle, and create, really good, I'm stuttering on my words a little bit, but create these good habits, start with the discipline, and then sooner or later when I don't even feel like running, I'm just going to want to go run for no reason.
That's really good. You won't, the person that you are today, you'll be completely different mentally by the time you're done with this.
Exactly, and that was kind of the whole point behind it, because the level of discipline that's going to take is something that I've never had to endure, bottom line, for this sustained period of time. So with that, what are your personal tips for goal setting? What is the Shawn Donaldson, what would you tell somebody when they're coming to you for tips on goal setting?
Well, I think the first thing is that what is it that they want to accomplish? What's their goal? I've had people come to me, I've had students come to me in the past and say, what should I do to prepare myself for college athletics, or what should I expect in college? And I kind of give them an explanation of, number one, you're on your own. No one's going to do it for you. Develop time management.
It's a harsh reality.
Right. Be very, very careful about who you hang around with. And that I can't stress enough. And there's going to be people that they're going to meet that they're going to find out that those are people you don't want to be around, and then you're going to find other people that you do want to be around and that share the same goals and aspirations. And that takes a little bit of time to figure out. But overall, it's a process, right, of understanding what it is. For example, the vision for Morning Lifter, that took me some time to really determine what it was all about. I knew that I'd wanted to do it, but my vision, I wasn't able to really put it into concrete terms until I had been doing it for a while. And so the vision for, everything that I do related to Morning Lifter revolves around the vision. And that is to empower, to educate, to inspire through all things strength and leadership. And it's not just fitness, it's strength of the mind, body, and soul. Because when you strengthen those three areas, not only can you lead your own life effectively, but you can help lead others. And that's really what this is all about. It's not just fitness. Fitness has a big part of it, because I truly believe not only are you strengthening your body, but you're strengthening your mind at the same time. And that's kind of where I developed the strength and leadership, the little tagline, I guess you could say. That's where this all came from. So anything that I do if it's got relations to morning lifter, I always ask myself a main question: does it fit my vision? So if it's not empowering, if it's not educating, if it's not informing people about strength and leadership, I'm not going to mess with it. And I would tell somebody the same thing with respect to their own vision or their own goals. If it's not something that fits their own personal beliefs or vision or mission, don't mess with it, And that is the best way, I guess, that I could say for someone to set a goal. It has to, it's gotta fit. It's got to fit in that bucket, I guess.
I like that a lot. That's a really, really good point. And with that comes to, just to piggyback a little bit, don't be afraid to say no if it doesn't fit your vision or fit your, what you want to be about, or if it doesn't fit in your bucket. I think a lot of people get, peer pressure into doing things that might take them away from their goals. Prime example would be like, going out and grabbing a beer with friends at happy hour. Like, well, one, you can go out with friends and not drink alcohol. But two is that it is okay and completely all right to say, no thank you, I have other things that I need to take care of, or no thank you, it doesn't align with where I see myself going.
Yeah, one of the best pieces of advice I ever heard was don't overload your back with your mouth.
That is deep.
Yeah, meaning don't say yes to everything, because then you say yes to something, you realize now you have to back out of something.
You say yes when you realize you didn't actually want to say yes, and then you're sitting around saying, oh shit, no, I have to do that. Right,
and guess what? You're going to lose friends over it.
Yep.
My wife and I, we've lost friends because we've told people no, and
well, that's their problem.
Exactly, and that shows, we've had those discussions. That shows more about those people than it says about us.
100%.
Because if you're comfortable enough telling someone no, we can't do that, or no, not today, we've got other things that we need to worry about. Our priority is our kids. And we've got to make sure that we're setting the right model. We're not going to have our kids stay out till 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, whatever. We've got, we're trying to set up structures, and we're not going to overload our back with our mouth. And so, when we come to decisions like that, we always talk about what it is, what's our objective with raising our own kids. And so the same thing works with your own life. Don't overload your back. Warren Buffett says the same thing. You got to say no to the 99%.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You got to say no to the 99% of good things. You got to say yes to the 1% great things.
I think I read that somewhere recently that the average billionaire says no to like 7,000 ideas a month or something like that, and then says yes to like the 0.001% of ideas.
That's why they're billionaires.
That's a really good point about the, like the people that will understand. Prime example is that we've been trying to record this New Year's resolution goal setting episode for 2.5 weeks, right? But things come up, I mean, that's the difference in life perspectives between yourself. What are you, 23, right? 23, 24? 24, yeah. Okay, so we're 10 years apart. So I'm 34, right? And so we were gonna do this last week, and it was I gotta paint my son's bedroom. These are the differences in life sometimes. But it's like, sorry, I can't do it right now. And so, okay, well, let's plan for next week, and we go from there, and so we try to get them in every 2 weeks, but sometimes things happen. That's called life. Things definitely happen. But like you said, such is life, right? So
that's right.
Those are all really, really good points. With that, what are your current goals? If you made any new ones for the new year, or you have outstanding goals that you're trying to accomplish, why don't you enlighten the dozens of listeners we probably have?
Yeah, my number one goal right now is to take the Certified Strength Conditioning Test to be a CSCS licensed in July. But since we're talking about goals, I'm not sure if that timetable is going to work. I might have to push that back. I'm still studying, but the studying is not progressing as quickly as I had hoped. I'm not even through the entire textbook yet. So I
there's a difference between studying to pass an exam and studying to be good at being a strength coach.
Right.
Like, you want to actually learn the material and not just memorize it to a point where you can pass a test.
Right. And so, I'm taking these practice quizzes, and I'm going through this booklet of 800 practice questions, and I'm not to the level yet where I feel confident in it. And you know what? That's okay. Number one, this isn't my background, but I want it to be my background. And I'm not just going to I'm not going to haphazardly go through it. I want to take the test when I'm comfortable. Also, the fact that it's going to cost me like $400.
Yeah, you don't want to make that payment twice.
Right. So I'm going to take the test when I feel I'm fully prepared. But that's my goal, and I even wrote it down on my sheet last year, was to take this test and pass it. And it still is. Things could change. I still got about 7 months actually. So my goal was to be at 6 months done with the book. And I'm out of 24 chapters, I think I'm on 18 now. So I'm close. I'm almost done. But I had been coming to a conclusion that I may not be there yet. I might have to do it in December. And that's okay. I've got time. But as long as I continue to focus on that, that's a big goal of mine that I've had. And the other thing is that I want to keep growing the website. I want to keep growing my vision and mission with Morning Lifter. I want to keep pushing out strong, informative topics that can help people. That's really the whole objective here, is to educate, to inspire, and to empower. That's my vision. That's what I want to be able to do through various forms of strength and leadership. That's what it's all about. And so my goal is to grow the website more than it was last year, and it's going to be doing stuff like this.
That's awesome. Wish you nothing but the best of luck. You're gonna crush the CSCS. The website's gonna continue to grow for sure. I think you're definitely on the right track, pal. For me, my current goal, as most people probably know if they follow me on social media, is that I am running 1,000 miles this year, the year 2020. I'm going to accomplish that by currently targeting 20 miles per week. Breaking it down month by month and then week by week with different schemes and setups and distances and times and durations and all of those factors. But the caveat to this is that I'm also raising money for the Fit Ops Foundation, which is a nonprofit organization that helps military veterans, find careers in the fitness industry as trainers, gym managers, coaches, etc. So I'm doing this basically just because I wanted to push myself, and as I said earlier, this is going to take a level of discipline that I just don't currently have. It's something I want to build, and that the 1,000 miles is going to be a byproduct of that. And I hate running. Like, Shawn, running's my least favorite thing. That's why I was a swimmer when I was growing up. Burpees and running are my top 2 least favorite exercises in the history of the universe. So I want to get comfortable being uncomfortable and doing things I don't like doing. If I can raise a little bit of money with that for a great cause, then, that's just an added bonus. So really looking to push myself, and kind of tabled the strength training a little bit to go along with that. I know I wanted to compete in powerlifting in the first part of 2020, but, this kind of came up, and this is now the priority, and that, maybe towards the end of the year when I get the balance a little bit back more to normal and I can get back into the gym a little bit more, when I've developed those habits of running, that running doesn't seem like such a chore, maybe I can get back into powerlifting and strength training. But for now, running is by far the priority, and then a couple just feel good workouts throughout the week in the gym, lifting weights, because it's awesome. So
yeah, and there's no
that as well.
There's no doubt either that you're going to accomplish that. You're well on your way.
Yeah, so week 1 was in the books. I ran 20.12 miles week 1, so I have another run coming up today. My weeks run Wednesday to Wednesday, just based on where the new year fell, so that's why I say week 1, even though it's almost the end of the second week of January. But yeah, really looking forward to it. It's nice enough I've been able to run outside. I ran outside yesterday. It's like 60 degrees in Maryland yesterday and today, so I can't really get too many outside days in January, but we're going to run outside again today after we're done recording. So looking forward to it. Words of encouragement, always appreciated, people. Thank you in advance. So with that, we've got a couple DM questions we can run through here quick. Question number 1, how do you guys handle any negative comments or feedback on social media that you may receive?
I'll let you take it first.
Okay. I have a saying that I heard once from an old coach that if they don't know you personally, then don't take it personally. There's a lot of people out there that, quite frankly, are unhappy with themselves and want to see others fail. I genuinely try not to be one of those people, but, when I get a DM or something, well, a prime example would be that I had somebody in my direct messages last week about when I initially made a video about the 1,000 miles thing is that the comment was made, oh, like track and field athletes that run or cross country runners run 1,000 miles, no problem. I was like, this is easy, like anybody could do it. And I said, okay, well, that's cool. I am not a track and field athlete. I'm not a cross country runner. And if anybody could do it, then why don't you do it with me, you know? And there was no response to that, obviously. But I just don't take it personally. If anything, I use it as maybe a little bit of a motivating factor for that day's specific workout to say like, oh, thank you for doubting me, you know. But I just shrug it off. I have broad shoulders. I let it roll right off the back. It doesn't really faze me too much. So, how about you?
I agree. I think there's a lot of people, unfortunately, that are going through their own issues. It's easier to hide behind a keyboard and spout out, you know, negative beliefs or thoughts. There's a lot of, you know, most likely own insecurities of those people. Gary Vaynerchuk talks about it a lot. And I also read this really interesting article from Patton Oswalt, the comedian. And this is not political. This is just from the article. Apparently he's a Trump supporter, which is whatever. This isn't a political podcast. So
hey, why don't we stick to sports here, Shawn? Come on.
Correct. Well, here's where I'm going with this. Okay, so the guy Patton made a comment about Trump, and this one particular guy made a very negative comment. And instead of Patton commenting back, he went through the guy's timeline to find that he's I think he was a Navy veteran, and he was suffering from sepsis, and so the guy's got a terrible disease.
Yeah, for those of you that don't know, sepsis is like full body organ shutdown. It's when you get bacteria that invade your organ.
Right, and so when you and I tell people all the time, you don't know the demons that people are battling. You know, and so I think there's always a way to take things with a grain of salt. You don't know what people are battling through. Everyone's battling their own demons. So Patton went through and he saw that he had a GoFundMe page to help with donations for his sepsis. So instead of firing back some smart-ass comment, Patton said, hey, it looks like you're going through some pretty rough stuff. I'm going to donate $2,000 towards your GoFundMe. There was a $5,000 contribution. And so then he retweeted it out, and within, I think by the end of the day, he had like $13,000. And it caused that gentleman to really rethink. And he ended up apologizing, and, you know, I thought that was a great learning moment, and it can be a great learning moment for a lot of people that we're all humans behind the keyboard. You know, sometimes people say things out of either jealousy or anger, or, you know, they're angry at life. They're upset at the cards that they were dealt. They see other people having the time of their lives, supposedly, through social media platforms, and you just don't know. Everybody thinks they know it all online. I'll be the first to tell you that I don't, but I think that's an important concept to understand, is that you don't know what's going on behind the scenes for a lot of these people. And that's okay. You don't have to explain yourself to everyone, but I would also say you don't need to apologize for success.
Yeah.
But you better take responsibility for your losses. You don't have to apologize for the success as long as you take responsibility for the losses. You can't have it either way. You got to take it that way.
That's a really, really good point. Even going back to what you said about you and your wife losing friends over social situations, it says more about them than it does about you, right?
Correct.
So I agree, and you know, it's tough. It's not easy. You know, you obviously want everybody to like you, right? But it's human nature. That's also just never going to happen. So yeah, I mean, the negative comes, but there's a lot of good that comes too. So
thankfully, at least with this, we've received a lot of really good feedback so far. I haven't really had much, if any, negative feedback yet. So, you know, we appreciate everybody who's been supportive of our cause here.
Absolutely. Yeah, nobody's told me to give it up yet, so that's good. That's good, I guess. Yeah, we appreciate all the love and support that we get. And the negative, it's, you know, fact of life. What was the last show that you binge watched on Netflix or any other streaming? I guess you could throw in there too.
I haven't really watched any shows. The only thing that I really watch now, we're hooked on Disney Plus. You know, when you got two little kids at home, you don't get to watch what you want to watch. My kids are hooked on Toy Story, so I've seen Toy Story 1, 2, and 3. I almost to the point now where I know each and every single line of each and every single movie.
Well, there are worse Disney movies that could be hooked on.
Yeah,
so
I'm a big
your blessings.
Right, I'm a big Toy Story fan, so it's not that bad. But I would say my wife and I, we watched The Irishman on Netflix. So we saw that movie. It's an awesome movie. I would recommend it. It's 3.5 hours long, so you can't really sit and watch it in one sitting. It is very long. We watched it over a span, I think, of 4 days. It was really good, but you got to pay attention to it, or you'll miss something. So I would definitely recommend The Irishman, for sure.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of really good things about it. That's on my list to watch. I haven't watched it yet. Hearing you mention Toy Story made me think the first day I started running in this whole thing, I thought of Woody when he says "run like the wind, bullseye," and that is what actually got me through my first run and got me started. So Toy Story,
whatever it takes.
Great films, absolutely, whatever it takes. The last show I binge watched on Netflix. Wow. So currently I'm working through a show called The Following with Kevin Bacon. It's about he works for the FBI, he's tracking a serial killer cult type deal. That's pretty good. I've seen The Ranch on Netflix, all 7 parts. Ashton Kutcher series that's coming out with a new season's coming out at the end of January, I believe. So that one's pretty good. Other than that, I'm having a really tough time thinking of specifics. Don't really watch a whole lot of TV, sorry. What TV I do watch is mostly sporting events. Okay, so last question here. I'm new to the diet and fitness game. Some people say to eat fruit and others say not to eat fruit because of the sugar content. So what is the verdict? What should I do?
Eat fruit. I would tell you to eat fruit. I mean, I eat fruit.
I also eat fruit.
It's got a lot of strong properties to it. I don't know everything about it, but here's what I stick to: apples, bananas, and berries. And that's about it. It's from nature. So it's it's healthy for you. You know, those are called natural sugars, right? I mean, so I have yogurt and fruit every morning, and then I might eat another apple or have some blueberries or something in the afternoon. You know, there's some sugar content, but guess what? You could get sugar from a lot worse sources.
Bingo. I think that's a huge part.
You know, what's worse, having sugar from an apple or sugar from stuffing your face full of donuts or something else? You know, I'd rather have the 15 grams of sugar from an apple. I mean, it's gonna provide you really good fiber as well. You know, and that's one of the reasons why I like the apple, is because it gives you a lot of good fiber.
Yeah.
But
oh, sorry.
We've talked about this before too. Like, don't overthink the process, right? I mean, if it comes from a tree, it comes from nature, assuming that a serpent didn't tell you to eat it. We go back to the Adam and Eve days, right? Assuming a serpent didn't tell you to eat the apple, you know, or you didn't get an apple from some gangly-looking witch, like in Cinderella. Or no, that was Snow White.
That was Snow White. Come on, I thought you watched Disney Plus, man. Come on.
We've only I've only been able to get my kids halfway through Snow White. We're only at the hi-ho, off to work I go. So we're right there. So, you know, as long as you know, there are some, obviously, for humorous situations, there are bad apples out there too, right? So both in people and in fruit. But you know, eat the apple. An apple a day keeps the doctor away, right? I'm going to go back to Jim Rohn one more time to close it, right? An apple a day keeps the doctor away. They don't say a Hershey bar a day keeps... No, it doesn't work. You don't eat the Hershey bar a day. And you should know, because you live right outside of Hershey, Bryce. At least you did. So, you know, it's not the Hershey bar, the apple. Eat the apple. Eat the berries. You know, have 1 or 2. You don't need to eat 10, right? Just eat a couple.
Yeah.
Eat 1 in the morning. Everything is like, we've talked about this all the time too. Moderation.
Mm-hmm. So I think the hang up that people say not to eat fruit because of the sugar, well, as you mentioned, there are way worse things you could eat, right? Would you rather have an apple or an orange or a banana, or would you rather have an Oreo? Let's be real. In terms of, well, people would want to have an Oreo, but what's better for you? An apple, even though they both have sugar. Two things to keep in mind with fruit. One is that even taking the sugar out of it, you get a lot more micronutrients, vitamins, minerals, precious metals, etc. from the fruit. It is a much more diverse nutrient profile, which is going to benefit you in the long run. Two, when thinking about sugar and fiber, little quick science lesson. Every carbohydrate that you ingest is going to get turned into glucose in your body. Glucose is sugar, and that is what is used for fuel. With that, you have what's called the glycemic index, and that is how quickly sugar gets absorbed into your bloodstream. That's what causes diabetes, hyperglycemia, those health issues. So what the fiber does, which you touched on, Shawn, is that the fiber slows down the rate of sugar absorption into your bloodstream, which limits the blood sugar spike. So the glycemic index, like a sweet potato, has a very low glycemic index. That means the sugars and the carbohydrates in it are going to be absorbed over a long period of time. Whereas a Hershey bar, like you said, as the example, has a very high glycemic index, which means that the sugar is going to go directly into your bloodstream, cause the insulin spike, and then so on and so forth. So while yes, there is sugar, the fiber helps control the effects of that sugar once it hits your body. So fruit, very good. You should eat it for sure. I also have about an apple a day. Apples and bananas are huge in my diet as well. So yeah, eat the fruit. That's about all I have. Do you have any closing remarks, Shawn?
Not that I can really think of. If I would just recommend you check out the website, check out the store. As always, if you got questions, hit us up at Morning Lifter, Twitter, Morning Lifter, Instagram. I'm on Facebook, Morning Lifter as well. So I'm all over the place. So if you got questions, let us know.
Yeah, anybody out there with the New Year's goals, New Year's resolutions, we hope that this helps keep you on track. And if you need the accountability, you need somebody to say, hey, just keep going, hit us up. That's what we're here for. We want to inspire people. We want people to not give up. So good luck to everybody out there that set off to accomplish something they've never accomplished in 2020. And may this year be bright and your futures be strong. So with that, we will sign off and hope you all have a great 2020.
See ya.